our forecast for later?
Composite now, and you can see what's happening. All these high clouds really racing offshore, so this system did not stall and stick around for a while, which would have given you maybe 2-foot totals in places. You can tell by these high clouds on the southwesterly jet stream wind that this system was in a hurry to get out to sea. And there's still another trough that stole some of the energy from the original upper level trough that's down over the southeast right now and producing some snowflakes around Atlanta and on toward Birmingham. But nonetheless, you got your snow, and it's beginning to taper off a little bit now in parts of Maine, although the steady light snow is still in there. Adirondacks of New York with up to 15 inches in Lewis and Oswego counties out of this storm. Still getting some snow back into southwest Pennsylvania and on into West Virginia and even parts of Ohio and down to the North Carolina mountains. Still some snowflakes coming on down. Let's take a look at the scenario once again before we bid adieu to this storm. Low pressure now, another low, Alberta Clipper style, coming on through with some fairly heavy snow already falling in Nebraska. The cold air is in place. This is the sharpest trough we have on the map right now in the south, and our trough in the northeast kind of damped out as it carried our low on out to sea. Otherwise, it could have stalled a while and been a much bigger storm. Low pressure now around Montana, taking the Clipper track, moving through Kansas and, well, really Nebraska, and on down to Kentucky tomorrow. And what's that's going to mean in terms of snow and the weather. Snow showers, some of them heavy around Great Falls today. The main snow band moving to just south of Chicago into Ohio, and guess what? You might have gotten some freezing rain and rain around Philadelphia, but it looks like you'll get a light dusting of snow up to about an inch by tomorrow night and early Friday. So here's the map with our Clipper type low and a pretty good wind up now going through the middle of the nation by tomorrow, with a quick warming south of it around Wichita and Tulsa and Oklahoma City, the snow falling mainly north of those towns, and a massive high from Canada bringing some really Arctic air into the northern tier states, driving this low eastward toward the east coast by tomorrow night and early Friday. But until then, some snow in the east and snow in the west as the northern tier of states gets seasonably cold, except northern New England is still a little bit on the nippy side. 70s return. You get into New England and the teens around the greater Boston area, still snowing lightly. Below 0 north of Bangor, Maine, and snowing 0 on the nose in Bangor and light snow. So it's cold in northern New England, and the snow still falling in parts of upstate New York, Pennsylvania, back on down into West Virginia, and even the greater Cleveland area. This is the big picture. That storm winds itself out in the northeast as we see a big area of light snow spreading from Montana into the Dakotas, the jet stream cutting over the Rockies, some more fluffy white powder in those mountains of the west. And this one really noses out into Iowa and Missouri and Chicago on the northern edge of a 1 to 3 inch area by about tomorrow late in the day. And tomorrow night, guess what? East Coast gets it. Places that didn't even get snow this time, Washington, Baltimore, should get a bit of snow out of this. Some rain in the northwest and parts of Florida as our wind comes in locally 50 miles an hour on the west. More on that snowy weather next.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Scott Palmer, Dave Roberts, Lisa Thomas-Laurie, and Mark Howard.
Good evening. Mark is off tonight. Rob Jennings joins us. And in the news, a tornado skips through the suburbs outside Miami, Florida, leaving a path of debris and injury.
And Defense Secretary William Perry gets a first-hand look at the hardships American soldiers are enduring in Bosnia.
But the big story on Action News tonight, easier drive home tonight after slipping and sliding through sheets of ice earlier today. Icy roads and sidewalks caused quite a bit of problems earlier in the day. In East Whiteland, Chester County, it led to 4 separate accidents, forcing state police to shut down a 1-mile stretch of Route 202 for a short time. Salt trucks came in to de-ice the road before it was reopened. Now, the ice is the result of a winter storm sweeping across the country. That storm dumped a combination of snow and ice in Harrisburg today. That shut down schools there. And the Delaware Valley ended up slipping on ice because of slightly warmer temperatures here. As a result, slip and fall accidents and fender benders kept emergency rooms busy across the area all day.
Well, to reiterate, across the tri-state area, residents were slipping and sliding by foot as well as by wheel. Action News reporter David Murphy has more on that.
The trouble started early in a big way on Roosevelt Boulevard southbound near Wissahickon Avenue in Germantown. 15 cars went slamming into each other just before 6:30 on an ice-coated overpass. Incredibly, the only injury was the collective headache for the drivers who now have to get these fenders fixed. Lesser fender benders were common, including this city EMS truck, which said hello to this parked car this morning in Roxborough. And if it wasn't accidents, it was slow going. SEPTA buses were at a standstill near Cathedral and Old Line Road in Roxborough.
The bus was slipping, and 2 buses in front of me slipped to the side.
It took a good going over from a SEPTA salt truck to break the ice and get things moving again.
Hi! Having fun?
But the toughest trek was on foot. Wendy Rogers couldn't make it up her icy front steps.
This is sort of like the nature trail way.
Yeah, but the grass is icy too, so here I go.
Wendy tiptoed through the yard to her front door.
In fact, in many places today, it was easier to go downhill than uphill.
Just ask these kids who had an uphill battle getting to school this morning.
It's icy and it's cold.
Thomas Caleb's wintertime wish today?
A car.
That's what you wish, right?
Of course, there were a few drivers this morning who probably wish they'd walked. In Germantown, David Murphy, Channel 6 Action News.
Well, the winter storm is also wreaking havoc across the country, as we mentioned. It was a messy combination of rain, sleet, and snow in New York State, especially in Buffalo today. 13 inches of snow was reported in Utica, New York. In New England, the system dumped as much as 14 inches of snow in and around Boston. And Logan International Airport closed for about a half hour for snow removal. In other parts of the country, a blizzard shut down Cleveland's airport for 2 hours today, and non-emergency car travel was banned in a dozen of Ohio's hardest hit counties. In Missouri, the storm brought travel to a virtual standstill. And in Miami, it wasn't snow, but a small tornado that slammed into a suburb southwest of the city today, injuring at least 4 people. The twister damaged buildings, knocked out power, ripped off roofs, and overturned some cars.
Here's the latest on the federal budget shutdown.
for joining us this evening. I'm Jill Brown here in the Weather Channel Forecast Center. The same storm system that was ringing in the new year with up to 2 feet of new snow in the Rockies is now extending the holiday weekend for some folks in the Northeast where kids were out of school. A lot of businesses had their folks stay home today because there was just too much snow out there. In Boston, a foot of new snow is on the ground, and travel was very light this morning when Bill Keneally was standing by, and he's still there on the Massachusetts Turnpike in Newton, Mass. And things are a little bit busier at this hour. Bill?
That is right, Jill. Our much-advertised snowstorm finally winding down, but across the Boston area today, 12 to 15 inches of snow, leaving residents with their shovels and the blowers at the ready. Okay, Jill, again, we continue to see the snowpack winding down on the roadways. The rock salt, it's amazing. It's 15 degrees and still we're down to just plain old melted down snowfall. So roadways in good shape. I see the speed limits are definitely increasing, 45 to 50 miles per hour. Although we've had reports now up on Route 93 now north of town up in Billerica of a lot of black ice. So residents, of course, are urged to use extreme caution overnight tonight.
I noticed at the airport that they're reporting 8 miles visibility now with very light precipitation. Now that's quite a bit different than what we've been seeing through the afternoon. Is it the same there in Newton?
That is correct. We have a couple of flurries coming on by earlier today. Good news, we looked up and actually saw a patch or two of blue. But again, that wind, a double-edged sword, the wind which brought all the Atlantic moisture on in, which was out of the northeast, shifting now to the northwest, and now it's trucking down all that cold air out of Vermont and New Hampshire.
Alrighty, Bill. Well, I'll tell you what, stay out of that traffic behind you. It looks like a lot of folks are back out on the roadways. And as Bill mentioned, it's going to be a little bit slick out tonight, so you want to take it a little bit slow. We will be checking in with Bill again in about another half hour. But as mentioned earlier, we checked with the Deputy Commissioner of the Massachusetts Highway Department. He said folks would be able to get out again by this evening, just taking it slowly, and that's exactly what's happening. Things are winding down, thankfully. Let's take a look at some of the snowfall totals that we have had reported through the afternoon. Syracuse, you top our list with 13 inches. That's the wrong list. So let's go ahead and get rid of that, and we'll show you the snowfall totals. Those actually are fairly old. So we do have some totals anywhere from 13 inches at Syracuse, where you can see the bright white is on the map there. Very few locations have come in with more than a foot. As mentioned earlier, Boston had a foot of snow. And Binghamton now saying after this storm, they're up to about, I think, 79 inches of snow. And that's a new record start to the snowfall season. So if this is anything like the year before last, well, it's going to be a busy season. Here's where our storm is right at the moment. As Bill had mentioned, just off into the Atlantic, so it has a great moisture source here, bringing all of that in. And these are the areas that will continue to see heavy snow, and heavy snow warnings continue in effect. Now, they have been canceled in the Finger Lakes and western Mohawk Valley. You may see another inch, maybe another 2 inches through the rest of this evening. The problem is tomorrow in some of the spots that had the heavier snow, we may end up with a northwest wind, and you know how that goes. Line it up just right and we'll have lake effect snow to follow the storm. Now, if you've been watching through this afternoon, you know that this radar looks pretty sparse compared to earlier. We do have just light snow really across much of southern New England, and very few reports of freezing rain any longer, which was a problem down around JFK and even Philadelphia earlier, as well as Providence. Right now, around the Hyannis, I think we still have some freezing rain. That's likely to change over to snow, and you'll probably end up with a couple of inches before this storm completely exits the region sometime early tomorrow. And here's what
at the Massachusetts Turnpike, and he has been experiencing this winter storm firsthand. Bill, how's it going?
All right, Janetta, our winter of 95-96 gaining a reputation, and not a very positive one. Up here in the Boston area, already the city has experienced over 3 feet of snow going back to middle November. Today alone, anywhere from 12 to 15 inches of snow falling across the area, sending area residents scurrying for shovels and snow blowers. From blowing snow to shoveling.
Boston residents were busy clearing sidewalks of snow from the first major storm of the new year. The snow slowed air travel at Logan International Airport. Only one runway was open for operation much of the day. Numerous flights were either canceled or delayed, frustrating would-be travelers. Although snowplows worked throughout the day clearing roads, it was still slow going in most areas around town. Drivers exercised caution, averaging speeds of 30 to 35 miles an hour. But snow wasn't the only thing people had to deal with. Blustery conditions made being outdoors even more intolerable, especially for those having to carry on business as usual.
Pulling a two-wheeler through a snowbank all day is not my idea of fun anyway.
I figured that I should at least try to come out and see if I could get to work, and I'm here, so not too bad.
And that was a message across much of the Northeast as people struggled through another major snowstorm.
Janetta, the big worry tonight will be, of course, the formation of black ice. We've had a lot of water in the area now, but temperatures are falling rather rapidly, getting down into the lower teens. And right now, even though we're seeing a lot of bare pavement, I think that'll be our main concern later on.
Okay, Bill, I noticed you're standing there in front of the toll plaza. What has been the volume of traffic there today?
All right, good question. Thank you, Janetta. Again, this area, very busy. This is where Route 128, the inner beltway for Boston, meets up with the Mass Pike. And this area normally sees 20,000 cars passing through the toll plaza on a given day. Today, they're estimating only about 7,500 cars, so about a third that volume. However, for tomorrow, I'm sure that rush hour will be a little more beefed up.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bill. Try and stay warm. We'll check back with you in about 30 minutes. Well, we want to update you further on what's going on with this particular winter storm, give you a few specifics as to what has been happening and what is in the forecast. If we can look now at how much snow we have already seen, well, it's quite amazing. Take a look at some of these totals. Syracuse, New York, 13 inches of snow. Boston, about a foot, and into Worcester, Massachusetts, 11 inches. Now, in New York City, you only received about 2 inches of snow, so that is definitely good news. You sort of escaped the bulk of the action. If we can now take a look at another perspective of the snow history, you'll see what I'm talking about. A big swath of snow from places like Missouri on into Indiana and Ohio, of course New York State getting hit fairly hard, and on into Vermont and also New Hampshire. Now this particular storm system is off the shore now, and here's our area of low pressure. But if you remember, an area of low pressure has a counterclockwise rotation, so the effects of this storm are being felt as far south as Tennessee, and even northern Georgia has been seeing some, well, precipitation in the form of light snow showers today. So quite a storm system. Zooming in on it, though, you can see that we do have a little bit of freezing drizzle being reported in some of the metro areas, Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Newburgh. So that's going to be of concern as we head through the evening hours tonight. Right now, the radar shows you snow falling from Syracuse to Albany to Burlington, but the bulk of the action is pretty much tapering off. Of course, there in Boston, it is getting a lot better, and we are hoping that things are going to be tapering off very, very soon. Now, the forecast calls for about 1 to 3 inch accumulation still, but a new storm system is on the way, and Brad Edwards is going to tell you more.